drinking a Slurpee?
That's me. Yeah, I'm powered by Slurpee. 7-Eleven about a mile away from here.
Because I really.
Do you really? Now he's looking at my Slurpee.
I'll get you a Slurpee.
Dropping into a booth cold or a brand cold, it's suicide. But I'm known as the flannel guy within state government, and all of my counterparts are the same way. And what I try to explain to them is that we're a multi-billion-dollar economy, but this is who we are.
One word to describe the OR show?
You put me on the spot.
Hello, Dispatch Radio Nation. Today we bring you a special interview with Luis Benitez. He's an accomplished mountaineer who heads the Colorado Office of Outdoor Recreation Industry. Basically, he's the point man for Governor Hickenlooper on all things outdoor related. Benitez was instrumental in wooing the massive outdoor retailer show to Denver this year. You might have heard something about that. It's been quite a tumultuous time for the industry over the past year. So we headed over to OR to catch up with him, see how it's all shaking out, and get a few pro tips for trade show attending for anybody that might be thinking about coming out to one of these things one year. I was joined in studio by friend of the show, Daniel Bedell of the Just Curious show out of Golden, Colorado, and our new intern, Jake Trujillo, a freshman at the University of Colorado. We just barely scratched the surface with Luis and look forward to getting him back on the show soon.
Backcountry Colorado, hiking, backpacking.
I did a lot of marathons. I was convinced to do some ultras.
Climbing, and I do filming and photography.
I just like the ultras because I love the community. I just think that everybody is so nice, whether they're the first place finishers or, us that kind of mosey along.
Welcome. Yeah, please help pump a squat. Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Luis.
Daniel
Good
Bedell.
to see you, Daniel.
No. Come
Nice to
join
meet
us.
you.
Yeah,
Nice
yeah.
to meet you.
Yeah, scoot
I
in.
am just so psyched you guys are here, that you're doing this. This is...
Well, first let's start. Say your complete name. Tell us what you do. Give us like 30 seconds on what you do.
Oh boy. My name's Luis Benitez. I am the director for the Colorado Outdoor Recreation Industry Office, and I work for Governor Hickenlooper, and my primary responsibility is to oversee the outdoor industry for the state of Colorado.
And
Big sentence. Actually.
big sentence.
Yeah.
And you have some mountaineering chops.
I chops, stupidity, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I was a high altitude mountaineering guide, helping to run a guiding company out of New Zealand for quite a while. So mostly focusing on guiding the 7 summits and other mountains all over the world. So got to globetrot and help run the business and manage the brand for a really long time.
One thing I'm interested that strikes me about you is your reputation a bit procedure. You're pretty new to this role. How long? A year?
Oh no, almost 3.
Almost? Has it been that long?
I know.
3 years?
Which
Really?
is in government work, that's like
That's a life.
115 years. Yeah.
You have been. You're like a
Yeah.
grizzled
Grizzled
bureaucrat.
veteran. This is what happens when you work in government.
But what interests me is that you have developed a bit of a reputation as a rock star amongst this crowd. I'm going to embarrass you a little bit. Text from Claire Gallagher. Getting Luis on the show. Luis, he is the man, all caps. So what is that all about?
Honestly, I think we literally just had this conversation walking into the studio. Of course, OR, you bump into a friend every 3 feet.
First of all, kind of you to call this a studio.
It's a
Thank
studio.
you. Yeah.
This is like-
our bare bones
This is
quiet
a
room.
fantastic studio. I love it. You bump into a friend every 5 feet. And I think, one of the things that I said when we bumped into him is that I am here and I am able to do my job because I stand on the shoulders of giants like Claire Gallagher. I mean, the woman won the Leadville 100 in her 20s. And I think the difference we have now is that the whole industry at large is becoming a little bit more self-aware about who we are, what we're capable of, and the outward perception of us forever has been, well, these are the seasonal recreation fun kids. They're not worth a whole lot. They may live in our community for a couple of months during climbing or ski season or boating season, and then they're going to go off to a different country. They don't contribute to our economy or ecosystem, when the reality is people are starting to wake up to the fact of how big we are. I'm lucky enough that I get to be one of the voices to help amplify that story. So I don't know about rock star status, but we've got a lot of amazing people here that want to figure out how to tell a bigger message.
So one thing that's interesting about the OR show, it's all about connections, like people,
Totally.
meeting. But there's a lot of kind of strategy, especially like kind of where you are in the food chain, right? So it's interesting to sit down with you because you're top of the food chain. You are high in demand. If you want to meet with any brand, you can. True?
Yes.
Yes.
True.
Yeah, I mean, time willing, they want to meet with you.
Yes.
So, and you are also high in demand in that there's a lot of people trying to meet with you.
You know, honestly, I think the good news with that is we wanted, as Colorado, to put our best foot forward for the first show. And I think the message that we wanted to get out there, it's less about Utah as this and Colorado as that, and much more about our overall ecosystem, that collectively, this is what we represent. So our goal was to bring a lot of those conversations that we've been trying to bring into the light, actually just out into the light a little bit more.
Okay.
And so in terms of me, you know, I've got 7 other counterparts. There are now 8 states that have a version of me. And we brought them all together here for an actual summit on day 0. And we got together, each state sent...
Well, the hell was my invite?
Sorry,
I would have
it was a
recorded
closed
that.
door session. No press. So this is actually important to talk about. Each state sent a 10-person delegation to this summit. We called it the Confluence Summit, so think of a confluence of rivers. And the goal that we have now, we're going to meet every year, hopefully twice a year, once here before the winter show, and the second time each year at each one of the states that have this office so they can celebrate their state, their industry, what they're doing. And our goal is to find common best practices amongst all of us that we can all talk about collectively. And I think that speaks to, this is beyond a political stripe. So I wasn't the only state director walking these halls.
You're saying you had take 9 others and then times 10 others. There were, if somebody wanted to meet with your confluence, there was an opportunity. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, I'm going to tease, and Patty O'Connell's going to kill me.
Patty, love Patty.
But Patty, kind of tongue in cheek, said, "Your crew." What did he say? What was it? It was the Super Friends Justice League of the outdoor industry.
That sounds like something Patty would say. He really distills it down.
Yeah. Well, and you know, Dominic Bravo, my counterpart in Wyoming.
What a name.
Right?
Damn.
And the dude's a strongman competitor and is built like a wall, and he could literally wear a cape. So, like the Justice Friends Super League thing, totally
Jake,
fits.
add him to the guest list.
Yes.
Hit list, top 10.
You want Dominic Bravo to sit in here.
I just want to
hang
say
out with
Dominic
you.
Bravo.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. And he brought Governor Meade down from Wyoming. So Governor Meade and Governor Hickenlooper got together. So I think, you know, I'm in service to the state, and I'm in service to this industry.
So one thing we've been kind of getting a little bit tactical with folks because we want to like talk about what the experience of an OR is, day in the life of Luis kind of thing, and then we also want a few tips. So first, can you whip out your phone, or if you have it by memory, and just tell me specifically who you've been meeting with, what those meetings have looked like?
Oh my God!
Starting with
what day?
Yesterday. Starting with
boy.
and yours is gonna be. You could be kind of quick, but
Yeah,
I
okay.
want to give people a sense of how busy you stay during an OR show.
So I think it's important to know that because we represent a state, there's a lot of Colorado brands that are here, and I think this is true for each state. For my counterparts, we want to try to get together with every single brand and representation from our state because this is the easiest place to check in
Okay.
and say, just how's it going? What's going on in your part of the state? How's business? How are things? So my day is usually split between those company visits, going from brand to brand, to talking to some of the buyers that are here. Yesterday, we call it Politico Day because that was really the big day where we toured Senator Bennett and Gardner, our Republican and Democratic senator, around the floor, both of them talking about public lands, which was awesome. We toured about 30 state senators and legislators because they really wanted to know what was going on. Governor Hickenlooper has been to the show floor now 4 times to talk to different companies, to be here for different events. We've got Senator Bennett upstairs about ready to introduce legislation. So it's been this amazing thing and also Congressman Polis is with him as well. So I think it's one of those things that yesterday was Politico Day, interspersed with a little bit of company visits, interspersed with a little bit of media, interspersed with last night was Winter on the Rocks, where we did a diversity and inclusion fashion show in the middle of the concert, but it was also to raise money to get kids outside.
How did
through the
Lynn
Outdoor
look?
Foundation. Amazing.
Okay.
And Rick Ross was just full-length fur coat, a lot of gold. There was pyrotechnics on stage. It was a good time.
Yeah,
Not
nice.
gonna lie.
Do you schedule this stuff? Like how? Like if you look at your calendar, like is it wall to wall? Is it just like
It's overlap wall to wall.
overlap? Can you give me just can you just take a window like
Sure.
and just
Well,
tell me?
I mean, so the joke I have with OR, and I think it's true for not just me, but for everybody, is that you're scheduled in 45-minute increments and everybody's 20 minutes late. And there's always this stress factor of, oh, great to see you, but when I walked in here, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to have to roll by X time. I'm sorry. So there's like the token OR apology.
You were ready.
when
You
start the
did.
meeting.
Yeah. You kind of came in like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
just to
yeah.
let you know.
But I do have to say, I'm an office of only 3 people. I have a deputy director, Jeanette Hyung. She's awesome. And we have an operations manager, Samantha Albert, who's also amazing, who keeps the both of us on track. But this week we knew it was going to be different. So on loan from the Office of Economic Development, I've got an incredible comms team, advanced team. The governor actually lent me his deputy chief of staff because there were so many politicians coming through. So I would say this is actually
You're rolling deep this time.
I'm rolling deep, but I'm also rolling organized. It's like Secret Service getting me through stuff.
Yeah.
Emily at some point is going to give me the stink eye to get us out of the room.
Yep.
And it's been really incredible. It's
All
been
right.
really impactful.
Let's do it.
You just want to see it? Or
No,
do
I
you
want
just
you to
wanna,
just kind of go through it.
obviously you've been by Big Agnes, Scarpa, La Sportiva, Icelandic, Hestra, Crescent Moon. We also have all the political meetings that we talked about. There was also press interviews.
What press interviews did you do?
Salt Lake City Tribune, Denver Post, Outside, AP, Adventure Journal, you guys, which is definitely one of the most...
The highlight, right?
Dispatch
Come
Radio,
on now.
One of my favorites. We also did a event with Brooklyn Boulders and the Next 100 Coalition about diversity and inclusion. We were leading panels over at the trade school about water, diversity and inclusion, climate. Oh, we're getting deeper. Oh, what else here? And then last, but certainly not least, this afternoon and this evening, we're going to do Night of Stoke, the film festival, having curated film shorts in a partnership with the Backcountry Film Festival, when we're also going to bring up iconic leaders that only don't do rad stuff. They also translate that into activism. So that's a
day in the life.
Day in
Perfect.
the life about.
And how many of these have you been to?
That.
Yeah, right.
Well, so you mentioned my history as a mountain guide and as a mountaineer. I've lived a couple of evolutions through the show. So everything from being a lowly booth assistant for certain brands, to being a sponsored athlete for certain brands, to roaming the halls trying to find new sponsorship, to this current role we have right now.
You've done it in a lot of different ways. Tell me about, one thing is we talked about kind of the getting in and getting the person you want to talk to. That's a big part of the show for a lot of people. Yeah. Any tips there for?
Yeah, you start 4 months before the show. I mean, literally, tongue in cheek, but people are making hotel reservations for the summer show right now. People are trying to find event spaces for the summer show right now. I would say the sooner you can identify who you want to talk to, drop it into a booth cold or a brand cold, it's suicide. Nobody's going to have any time for you, and if they do, it's going to be someone that you probably don't even want to talk to in the first place. So find the name, establish a relationship, even if it's by email. Figure out how to get it on the schedule and try to be as respectful as you can to the start of those meetings. And I would say that sort of apology, the OR apology of leaving early, a lot of people appreciate the time that you give back to them.
That's a gift.
So you try to be on time for the start always, but ending a meeting early, it's the greatest OR gift we have, is giving back time, I think.
Other tips for folks that maybe next year this is going to be their first OR, how to make it successful?
I think the jokes about sleep, eat, prep, like catch up on sleep, quote unquote, you're never prepared. I think we were laughing with some people yesterday. Everybody averages 3.5 to 4 hours of sleep. There's always something going on. The evening events, you always have to scream. So if you notice my husky voice, everybody's got the day 3.
It's working for radio,
husky,
baby.
Thank you. Day 3 husky voice. I could joke and say tea with lemon, try to go to bed early. That never works. But I think you have to prepare yourself mentally. If you've ever had any period of your life where you've had 18-hour days that involve parties and concerts and happy hours and copious amounts of alcohol and all those different things, it's just you can't explain it to somebody until they come. But I would say, believe every story you hear because they're all true. And so prepare yourself for that before you come.
Dress strategy. Did we cover that? Just tell me about. So okay, so you ding ding ding, ring the bell.
Ding,
you
ding.
have got the plaid bell. Ding ding.
Plaid
Actually, everything the last guest said was the uniform: the
trucker hat, plaid.
and jeans.
Jeans.
He's got it.
And yeah,
Louis,
and boots.
he's got the
and fashionable socks.
and we didn't cover fashion.
That's how guys accessorize these days.
So is this
Gotta
how
have
you
style.
dress every day?
It is.
To the
You can
to the
ask
office?
my team. This is how I
Emily
dress every day to the
Williams
office.
Williams,
Yeah.
right? Emily Williams, PR.
She's my comms.
Your comms person
comms
is confirming.
strategy.
She's nodding yes.
Yeah.
So
I throw a blazer on top of it when I need to.
All right,
But
yeah.
I am. I'm known as the flannel guy within state government, and all of my counterparts are the same way. And what I try to explain to them is that we're a multi-billion-dollar economy, but this is who we are. This is how we show up. So it's almost like the folks from tech at Silicon Valley. The guy with the black turtleneck and the black jeans could be the wealthiest, most savvy person in the room. So I tell people that are coming in outside of the show, don't prejudge the person in the flannel and the jeans and the trucker hat, guy or gal, because they could be the person that you want to talk to.
Yeah. Do you have any other advice for attendees on dress strategy?
You know, honestly, I saw an Instagram post the other day where there was sort of this boomerang of somebody like loading and unloading 3 duffel bags because they were trying to have, shoes in one, party stuff, serious stuff, and then I think we're going to a hot springs and we're going to go climbing, we're going to go ice climbing, and then we're going to go skiing. So it's like, be prepared to pay for excess baggage and bring it all, because some of the invites you get while you're here, like there's a whole crew that evolved 3 days ago that are going down to Uray to go ice climbing, that they're like talking to Black Diamond about, do you have any demo tools that we can take? We didn't bring our stuff. So stuff like that happens, and I think be prepared for it. So bring your toys, pay for one more bag, because I think it's cool when you're here, if you can stay and recreate, because that's kind of what we're about. I think that's always fun.
How has the transition been from that crazy, chaotic summer show where there was the walkout and the protests in Salt Lake City, and you had the op-ed from Peter Metcalf hitting? I remember, or was that the winter? Anyway, I remember he got in the mix. That was kind of chaos in Patagonia to the shift and being here. Like, what is that like? Because I know you had a role in obviously kind of sway, getting this show here and lobbying for the state.
Well,
but how has the mood been at this show, kind of, because that is kind of a jarring change, that happened really quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously the biggest goal in the beginning was to be respectful to the process in Utah. So we didn't want to jump in and wave our hands and say, let's talk, because you have to remember, while I represent a state, I also represent an industry that's aligned with an industry in Utah. My counterpart, Tom Adams in Utah, I mean, we're good friends. All the directors talk. So at that point, it was really, what can we do to help support you through this? When it was clear that the industry was going to make moves to leave, the reality is there's only a couple of states where this would fit, but then you layer cake onto that, there's also only a couple of states where, from a political standpoint, some of the things that we wanted to focus on a larger scale would also fit. So that, combined with trying to negotiate how to get this here and move existing business that Colorado had in this building, I joke with people, it was like trying to park the Titanic in a 2-car garage going 40 miles an hour. Like, stuff's going to break, it's going to be big and weird and frightening. And that's what the past 11 months have kind of been like. But I think the goal now, and I think the aha and wonderful moment now, is that a lot of the conversations that we've been willing to have and have wanted to have, we can finally bring into the light a little bit. And I think once we're on the other side of understanding that it's not Utah or Colorado or Washington or Wyoming or any other state, but we're looking through a collective lens for our industry, I think our voice gets a lot more powerful on the other side of this process. And so I think people are starting to see that if you speak with one voice and you align a little bit more, we can be a little bit more strategic. And that larger piece, some of the ancillary stuff that goes on around the show, the biggest thing I've heard is, wow, day zero is actually a thing now. And day zero is before the show even starts, but we had wall-to-wall stuff going on all day before the show even started. So there's been a lot of talk
which is a emblematic of what? That now this is a more ideal platform to have some of those bigger discussions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think what you're seeing is, traditionally the vehicle has been for the Snow Show, Industry and Intelligence Day, for OR, or for OIA University, so all the plenary sessions. Now we've got Trade School, which is a Colorado thing, to just supplement some of those sessions to talk about some other things. And so I think those external sessions will, if you think about South by Southwest and some of those external pieces that help bolster the main part of that, you're going to start seeing some of those things.
And so how would you describe kind of the mood? You mentioned, there's been this 11 months of things are going to break. Is there a sense that this is going to work, or is there still kind of questions?
Well, you're talking to somebody that's really biased.
Yeah, I do recognize that.
And firm belief that this is working and it's going to work. people call us a purple state for a reason because we're willing to lean into all of this and talk about it. And the mood I sense, and I don't know if anybody else in the room wanted to chime in and say anything different, but it's really been one of, people are just really excited to try to figure out how to do this a new and better way. Not just the show, but the external conversations, some of the new partnerships. We've got an electric motorcycle on the trade show floor that actually won Best in Show. That's the motorized community, which for decades wouldn't even talk to the outdoor industry. So you're seeing all these crossovers that I think people are really starting to get excited about the fact that, wow, you know what? I don't need to be ashamed if I have a dirt bike in the garage. I could actually be a rock climber and ride my motorbike and be okay about it because, oh my gosh, it's electric now, and that's part of our world. But then what does access look like, and how does that translate? And should we go to that Forest Service meeting and meet the new chief of the Forest Service because they're talking about access for vehicles? And should we get into that as well? And so there's all these bigger questions that I think people are feeling free to ask now because we got a little bit more room to breathe.
Cool. One word to describe the OR show?
You put me on the spot. Can I do two?
Is it hyphenated?
Please? Well, two with an and in the middle. Okay, yeah, I'll hyphenate it. Can I do a slash instead of a hyphen?
This is how bureaucracy works, people.
Yeah, it is. Like, I got to get a little bit more. Yeah. So I would say it would be revolution and evolution.
Okay.
Those are my two words.
All right. More of a phrase, but I like it. We'll take it.
Sorry. Revolution/evolution.
And if you were describing the OR show to a kindergartner.
Well, has the kindergartner visited REI? And have they been to Vegas?
No, the kindergartner's from Orlando and isn't outdoorsy at all.
Christian Vegas. That's Orlando.
Yeah. So
Christian Vegas.
Have they been to like Disney World or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So think of going holiday shopping with your parents combined with Disneyland, and that's what it's like.
Yeah, all right. I like, nobody else has done that. Like, tell me a little bit more about my audience. That was good. Yeah. What's the hat?
So this is the Colorado Accord. So the multi-state summit that we just had on day 0, it was called the Confluence Summit. But because we're sort of aiming for best practices across the states that have this role in kind of 4 distinct areas: economic development, conservation and stewardship, education and workforce training, so kind of the talent base for our industry, and then intersection between public health and wellness in the outdoor industry, we realized that we're going to be basically crafting an accord for our states. And so we called it the Colorado Accords. If you think of the Paris Accords, they originated in Paris, so they'll always be called the Paris Accords. This accord will be called the Colorado Accords, and it's a document that'll be ratified as other states get added. So that's the hat, the Colorado Accords.
So this document doesn't exist currently?
It's in work right now.
Cool.
We started the process on the summit on day 0, at the summit on day 0, and we'll be working on it through the spring. And North Carolina, who actually just hired their version of me, has agreed to host the summer summit, which is going to be right before the summer OR show, hopefully in Asheville.
Asheville? I'll be there.
We're hoping it's going to
Can
be
I
in
record with you
Asheville.
guys? I know it's behind closed doors and all,
but you can hang out with us after.
No, I want to get in. I want to hear good stuff.
You're going to have to talk to all my other counterparts.
Okay, I will. I'll hunt them all down. Will you name all the states?
So we've got Wyoming, Montana, Washington State, Utah, North Carolina, Vermont, and we've got Oregon, and then we've got us.
And what's the brand on your shirt? What's this? I see like a deer head.
This is actually a hunting shirt. It's Playa.
Playa? Is that a Colorado company?
It's a hunting brand. Nope.
It's a hunting brand. Was that strategic that you wore a hunting shirt?
So actually, don't know how deep your research got. I'm identified as a mountaineering guy for sure, but my original genesis is as a hook and bullet kid.
Okay, now I'm upset.
Yeah?
You want to know why I'm upset? Because I've asked 4 people for good things to ask you that people don't know about, and nobody has mentioned this.
See? Well, that's...
Penn Newhart, you did me wrong, brother.
Seriously,
he said,
Penn?
Talk about the dirtbag thing, which is good. We'll get into that another show.
All right,
we're going to do a whole show around dirtbags that have kind of made it. And
that's awesome.
Are you were a dirtbag at one point? Yeah, for sure.
Very much so.
But a hunter and a fisher.
Yeah, my American grandfather, my dad's Ecuadorian and my mom's American. And my American grandfather owned a fly fishing and bird hunting shop. I mean, literally one of those stories you hear about, a quarter mile away from my grade school. I'd walk down there every day after school till my mom or my dad picked me up after they got off of work. And so I hung out in a small family-owned specialty retail shop focused on fly fishing and bird hunting. So those were my 2 first sports in the outdoors. then being exposed to my grandfather's shop, which was family owned, was my first real exposure to the outdoor industry. So I tend to wear hunting brands, fly fishing brands all the time. And I think that crossover, we've been living in silos for too long within our industry.
Dude, you are speaking my language.
And so the crossover that we're starting to see happen, I think it's subtle. It's wearing different brands that are identified with different segments of the industry. It's having an electric motorcycle on the trade show floor right now at the winter show. Like, how does that fit, right? But yet it's here, and it's in the Venture Out region, which is about emerging brands and emerging technology. So that's super cool.
All right, we hit 3:20. I want to get you out early. I do want to touch a little bit of a third rail.
Sure.
What have you seen more at the OR show between dogs,
Goats.
children?
Okay.
Wait, you've seen goats here?
Oh yeah. There was a goat pet.
Okay,
You guys didn't
I'm
see the
revising
goat
my
petting
list.
zoo?
I'm revising my list.
Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
you ready?
Yeah.
It's gonna be 5 things, so you're
right.
gonna have to order them.
I'm ready.
You're a smart guy though.
Okay.
Dogs,
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
We're gonna go goats,
Yeah.
man buns,
Ooh.
and black people.
That's good. God, ooh, that's so hard. I think it's hard because I've been involved in meetings with Afro Outdoors, Latino Outdoors, and Natives Outdoors right now because we're really trying to understand how to blend as a culture. And they've shown up in force with their organizations and people that believe what they believe. Brown Girls Climb is here. So there's a lot of amazing people of color here at this show, and we're going to grow. So I'm a little, my list is going to be a little skewed because we've been having some really amazing, intense meetings about how to grow that capacity. And obviously being a Latino myself, that's important to me. But I would say for the rest of your list, it's babies.
You're gonna go babies number 1.
Babies number 1, dogs number 2, goats number 3. And then obviously people of color. Well, people of color would be number 1. And then babies would be 1.5. That would be my list.
Wait, what now?
Man buns.
Oh, man buns are awful. That's
Man
so
buns
bad.
are-
Are you kidding? Like I've seen 4.
It's the man bun phase is over.
Man bun's
You're
done.
right. I haven't seen many.
Yeah,
You're
it's
right.
ironic. It's the dazzling hipster thing. I don't know what's happening.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So you've been doing this for 3 years. Yeah. What was something you went in wanting to do that you still haven't accomplished yet? Is there anything?
I got some things cooking. Yeah.
Can't talk about it.
No. Getting other states to create a version of me, that's going to be a consistent goal. Breaking down the silos between the industry. So we've been talking about moto, we've been talking about, so different segments of the industry, diversifying the industry, redefining inclusion. Some of those things are a work in progress. And then there are some things that let's talk in a year. Let's see if we have something different to talk about.
I had one other one. I heard an interview with you as you were new to the job.
Is this with Ben
God.
Shank,
Yeah.
our buddy, Mountain Meister?
Holy cow, that was 3 months on the job when Ben
So you were
called.
new.
Yeah.
So you were talking a lot about guiding and leadership you learned through that and other outdoor stuff. And I wonder if having been in federal government, well, I guess you're in state government stuff now.
But deeply tangled with federal.
Yeah. Did all that end up applying those leadership styles and principles, or did it all get trampled down, spat upon?
Every damn day. It applies every day. It really does. I tell people all the time when I was guiding on Everest, because they want to know what's the archetype? Who's the kind of person that could actually summit? And I would tell them all the time, it is not the hero, it's not the showboater, it's not the person that's used to winning the marathon or coming in first. It's the person that finishes 2nd through 5th, but they know how to put one foot in front of the other forever. And that's what this job is. Get in my way, cause trouble, say that it can't be done. And I think what this industry does incredibly well is looks at an adverse situation and finds a way through. That's the way we're wired. And I think the learning for me is that it's kept me metaphorically alive and out of the avalanche path for pretty much the entirety of this job. Good question.
Jake, our intern. Any questions?
I don't.
What have you found interesting in this conversation? He's a freshman. I should mention he's a freshman at CU. He's going through the multimedia program. He helps me on my hyperlocal Arvada podcast.
Talent, right
yeah,
there.
He's the
Education
future.
and workforce training, baby. That's good. Give me a good one.
I just think all the diversity talk that's sort of been a theme for today has been really interesting, and I think this is probably the first take we've had from the other two people we've interviewed where it's been more positive about like talking about what was the one thing, brown girls climb?
Brown girls climb? Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like it's been a lot of like sort of doom and gloom, and I think this is a more positive spin on that.
That's a good question. I mean, and obviously I'm the son of an immigrant that came here from Latin America to seek an education and to build a family. And so I take that portion of our industry incredibly personally. And to layer cake on top of that, what I've been hearing in the industry a lot has just been about color and it's been about gender. And I haven't heard a whole lot about the LGBTQ community. And we've really tried hard, especially over at trade school, which is sort of that panel session construct that we have that, just outside the convention center, just down the road a little bit, to really talk about what true diversity and inclusion look like. Because our industry does not know race, color, gender identity, and we have to start bringing that out a little bit more. Because if we're truly going to celebrate who we are and what
a lot
we do,
of it.
a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I think for years, we haven't been able to say it out loud. I don't know if we were scared or we didn't know how.
We were in Utah. Utah was just put the handcuffs on us. Now they're off.
With a lot of things.
What have you found like the best ways to get your messages out? Is it like, traditional media stuff? Is it?
I am such a podcast lover. I really.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it for a second. With all of us that are in the outdoor industry, it's the podcast you download on your device that you listen to when you're running, driving, cragging, boating, whatever it is at night. And I think, social media is this incredible platform. I've watched web series on Facebook on my device and been brought to tears, right? I'm not watching it on the big screen. I'm not watching it on a 60-inch at home. I'm watching it on my device. And so I think we need to, and we're doing a much better job, and we're getting, look at this. Look at this setup. Are you kidding? This is amazing.
This is Daniel's setup.
We're getting really savvy about how to do this. And we don't have to wait for mainstream media to tell this story. And the good news is it's not fake news. These are real people talking about real things in real time. And I love that.
Favorite podcasts? Favorite outdoor podcast, since we have an outdoor audience.
Oh, God.
You listen to Ben Mountain Meister when he puts it out.
I am a big...
I'll help you out with a couple. Chris Kalous, the Normocast, maybe?
Yeah, big fan of Duct Taped and Beer, whatever they do.
Yep.
You guys, obviously.
Thank you.
Super huge. Take Me Outdoors. That's a big one for me.
And do you guys have a podcast, your office?
Not yet.
Yeah, you need a podcast.
You want to know what I want to see? Yeah. I want state directors to start figuring out how we expand what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so if that's the podcast media beyond social media, then I think we're going to
take your summit to the airways, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's next.
Well, this is great. Anything else, guys? Anything we didn't touch on?
I will say we are working on a parks-related podcast theme that we might come back to you with. That would maybe be great for teaming with these other people in other states.
That's an interesting idea.
Awesome.
On, so.
If you guys ever want to have access to those folks, they're easy to find. We're all aligned and together and moving forward in one direction. So we're happy to do that.
Once you get into the 4-hour-plus sleep days again, we'll hit you back.
Yeah, like 3.5 right now is just fine by me.
Most famous person you've seen in an OR?
Like famous by the way I define famous?
Both. Do both.
Reinhold Messner, for sure, from a mountaineering context. And then I got to say my boss, Governor Hickenlooper, a couple days ago.
He was at least two people's answer. Corey Gardner was one person's answer. I was like, well, that's just set.
Loki the wolf dog.
Loki the wolf dog? Yeah. Well, serious social media following. That's true. I haven't seen Loki yet.
I think Alex Honnold was number one, but Loki was a close two.
Yeah, well, that's...
And more people had funny stories about Alex just doing weird
like showing
Alex
up in
things.
Random places. Yeah.
And like somebody said he like barged through a line and like just took all the chocolate out of the candy, just like something.
He's the Bill Murray of the outdoors.
Fully.
Yes,
he's going to start showing up at weddings in South Carolina. Yeah, like fully. I fully see him doing.
Let's get this man off to more important things.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to check out our latest collaboration with Alpinist Magazine. It is the Alpinist Podcast. It features in-depth interviews with some of the world's most notable climbers. The latest episode takes you in-depth to Bears Lodge or Devil's Tower and the voluntary climbing ban that is observed during the month of June. You can also scroll through the archives to find interviews with Tommy Caldwell, Conrad Anker, my personal hero David Roberts, and many others. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts, and let us know what you think by writing to us at info@dispatchradio.com. Thanks all.